Welcome to the French Newfie. I'm Erin MacDonald. Today I'm going to be making for you a really nice baked stuffed quail. And some people probably think, if they're not aware, that quail is a small chicken. It's not a small chicken, it's actually a quail. It's a type of bird, and it's not a baby bird. This is actually a full-grown quail, so they're really nice and delicious. They're a great alternative to chicken if you want to do something a little bit more elegant, and they bake up really quickly because they're so small. So I'm going to show you a really nice stuffed version here today. Before I get on to the quail, I'm going to make my stuffing that goes inside. So I'm just going to put that off to the side. And I have some parsley, and I really enjoy using parsley and any type of herb into my stuffing. So I'm just going to chop that up. Just a couple of quick chops like that. And I have a serrated edge knife, which is fine. That's what I have standing by, because I was actually chopping up my onions earlier, and I like to use serrated edge knives sometimes for my tomatoes or for my onions, and you can see it works well for whatever you're using. Now, I'm going to put that into a clear, I'm actually using a measuring bowl, but it's clear and I want you to see how beautiful the stuffing is, so that's why I'm using this. So I'm going to put in some nice parsley that I just chopped down inside, and earlier, as I said, I've chopped up an onion, so I'm going to get my nice onion in as well. Now these quail are quite small, so as you can imagine, you don't need too much stuffing because their little cavity is not going to hold much. So I have the parsley and I have the onion. Another thing that I want to get down into it is some rice. And I have found this little packet that you can find at grocery stores lately of brown basmati and quinoa. But you can find white rice, steamed rice, you can find so many different variations. And I really like using these packets because you basically put them in the microwave and steam them and they're done. But because I'm going to be baking them in the oven, I'm not putting them in the microwave. I'm just going to tear it, put it into my mixture and into the quail. So, you know, there's a lot to be said for these quick hacks sometimes, and when they're already done for you, it just makes life a little easier. I don't have to stand around a pot while I boil my rice and so forth. So get a little bit of that down into my mixture for my stuffing. So I have the nice brown quinoa rice in there. I want to go in with some nice orange zest, and orange zest is so flavorful, and you can imagine with the quail it's just going to be really nice because I'm going to make a nice orange syrup. It's going to be at the bottom. It's going to be so delicious. So with the orange, you just want to get the rinds. That's what you want. So you use the small side of the grater. We're just going to grate around and get all that beautiful zest. You don't want the rind because that's very bitter. So I'm only going to do it maybe twice and then turn as you go. 1, 2, kind of turn, 1, 2, there you go. You can smell that, it's so beautiful, citrus. I love a lot of different citrus fragrances, but I have to say orange is one of my favorites. So it's gonna be so beautiful with this quail here today. So just get a good bit because I wanna use as much of this as I can. I'm actually gonna grate and zest the entire orange. And you'll see there's quite a bit that comes from it. I'm not going to waste the orange as well. I'm going to put it at the bottom of the dish that those beautiful little quail are going to rest on top of and give it a little smack. I'm going to leave my orange here because I'm not done with it yet. I'm just going to get my fingers up inside and make sure that I get all that beautiful orange zest. Perfect. Now I'm going to add some of that zest to my mixture. So just get a good amount. See, it's like about a tablespoon of that zest, and I'm going to push the rest off to the side for now. Lovely. Okay, and I want to give my mixture, my little stuffing, just a little twirl around because I don't want all that big clump of zest, so I want to make sure that it loosens up. A couple more things that are going to go into it. I'm going to add some butter. Butter is really beautiful and silky. Everything's better with a little bit of butter. So a little bit of butter. That's around a teaspoon of butter. And again, it's a mixture. It's going to melt into the quail. It's going to go into the bottom of my dish that I'm going to be cooking and baking them up in. So it's going to run out. It's going to be so beautiful. You need to add salt and pepper. Some nice cracked black pepper. Again, that's around a teaspoon, and some salt, another teaspoon, just like that. Some thyme, and thyme goes well with any type of poultry. So get a good amount of thyme down into that. And some nice sweet and succulent raisins. And I really like raisins, especially with the orange and inside of the stuffing of the quail. It's really delicious. So get a good amount of raisins. And I want every quail to have a couple of raisins in their stuffing, so I'm being very generous with the raisins. Now make sure that that's all mixed up so that you get all the salt and the pepper, and you make sure that everything is mixed up. And as you can see now, all of the orange zest is separated. So every bite will ensure that you get some of that parsley, thyme, zest, you get the raisins, and some of that really nice brown rice. Perfect, so that's done. Now it's time to move on to our beautiful little quail. And what I like to do with them is make sure that you season the inside and the outside of the quail. And I'm going to do that with salt and pepper. And because I'm using both and I want them inside and out, I'm going to take a good amount of my salt, put that down. And then I'm going to take a good amount of the pepper and put that on there as well. And just give it a little swirl around so that way I have it incorporated. Perfect. And now we're going to bring our little quail forward, and I'm going to do each one. This is just going to take a couple of minutes, but what you want to do is kind of get them, stand them up straight, and what you'll have is the inside, just like a chicken, but it's not a chicken, the inside cavity. And I want to get all the salt, a little bit of salt and pepper on the inside of each one, just like that. And I'm going to keep going until I have all of them done. There's not many here, it's around 6, but you can see that they're so small. There's not a lot of meat on these quail, but it's really nice, and that's why 6 would probably serve, say 2 people, depending on how hungry you are, or you could have 2 each, and then you could have some to put in your lunch tomorrow for work. So that is also great. My oven is on at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. You always want to preheat it so that way you know the temperature that you're cooking it at, which is important. So let me just get this here like this. And what I'm going to do is get them stuffed and into my dish. So what I like to do is add a little bit of olive oil, not extra virgin, just olive oil like this. Perfect. And then just kind of swirl it around so that way you're not drenching your whole dish in olive oil. So get that all around like that. And now we're going to get them in and stuffed. So stand them up. This is going to take a little bit of time, but not too much time. So let me just go one at a time and get that stuffing down into there. And don't worry too much. You can always scoop it up if it gets on the bottom, and I will show you when I'm done here. So just get your fingers down into it. Make sure that that cavity is filled up with the rice. Make sure there's some raisins. You don't want to miss any of that goodness. And again, if some just gets on the bottom, you want to pick it up and put it back in, just like so. Lovely. And there you have one. Okay, and the last one. So as you can see, it does take a little bit of time, but it's a labor of love with these beautiful quail. So there you have my nice stuffed quail. Let me just wipe my hands for a second. And another thing that I like to do is to add the orange, as I said. So I use the orange zest. It's inside of that beautiful stuffing, but I'm going to take it a little step further, and I'm going to just add some nice citrusy orange. Look at how beautiful the color of that orange is inside my dish. So just like this. So beautiful. Add that, just like that. Nestle it down into my little dish, like that, of beautiful quail. This is going to cook up rather quickly, but I want it to make sure that it's cooked all the way through, obviously, because it is a poultry, it is a quail. So I'm getting it into the oven and a little bit more olive oil on top, just so that nothing burns. It's at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm gonna let it go for around 20 minutes in the oven. So now it's time to get my beautiful stuffed quail out of the oven, and all I've done is added a nice mound of greens in the center with some spiraled beets. I have just a couple of orange wedges off to the side, or slices, so that you can see and know the flavors that are inside of that beautiful quail. So let me just get it out of my very hot oven. There we go. And they're beautiful and brown. Very nice. You just get it onto a board right here. You can hear it still sizzling. They're so delicious. I had them last week. Of course, I always recipe test, and there were 2 left over, which went in Keith's lunch at his request. You know, you hit a home run when they want it for lunch the next day. So again, they're so beautiful and brown right now. And inside is nice stuffing, that quinoa and rice, the onions, you have the raisins, some of that thyme, beautiful butter that I added to it. So it's really, really nice. These quail are really delicious. They're not that intimidating, but if you don't know how to prepare them, just like anything, I mean, it's gonna be intimidating. But as you can see, there's nothing intimidating about these. So this one's hanging on for life. There you have my stuffed quail. I really hope that you give it a try sometime and you enjoy.